Hello, and thank you for tuning into this week's Mayor's Update. As always, we have a lot of important information to share with you here this week, so please feel free to share this video with your friends, family, relatives, and anyone else you think might find this information helpful over the course of the coming week. Dog licenses are now available for the new calendar year from the city clerk's office. They are available for $11 for dogs that are spayed or neutered, and then $15 for dogs who are not spayed or not neutered. That information can all be found on the city clerk's website, as well as the application to fill out for those dog licenses. Now, I understand that this is a little late for these items to be coming out this year. The city clerk actually ordered them back in November, but due to manufacturing shortages and shipping delays, we did not get them until now. However, that does work out in some ways because the City Council did vote this past week to approve a proposal by Councillor Alec Durnalowitz of Ward 5 and myself to waive the fees for dog registrations for residents who are over the age of 70. So if you are turning 70 during this calendar year, or you are older than the age of 70, you are eligible to get a free dog registration for your pets. Doesn't matter how many dogs you own, so long as you turn 70 within the calendar year, or you were older than that, and you have some type of proof, be it your driver's license, an ID, a copy of your birth certificate. That way we can verify it there. The age 70 actually comes out of the state laws. That's an optional law for cities or towns to choose to follow or not. The City Council accepted our proposal to accept that law as part of a Gardner rule this past week, but that's where the age 70 comes from. It's from the state's eligible ages that they require under the state law. So make sure you do register your dogs in the city to avoid any late fees, fines, or penalties. You are still subject to a late fee and a fine if you do not register your dog, even if you are over the age of 70. So just because you are exempt from the initial registration fee does not exempt you from the fine if you fail to register your dog as required by state law. And those licenses are due by March 31st. So the earlier you get in, the better. That way you're not rushing by the end of March to try to get that in and you don't forget. So please do remember to register your dogs. Excise tax bills were also recently mailed out by the City Treasurer Collector's Office. So if you did not receive your excise tax bill within the next week or so, be sure to call the tax collector's office to verify your address. We do have several issues every year where the post office does kick back a good portion of the excise tax bills due to addresses being wrong, but we can't fix the addresses unless we're notified by the property owner themselves. So please do reach out if you don't receive your excise tax bill within the next week and a half, and we can make sure we can fix your address in the system so you avoid any late fees or penalties in that area as well. We want to remind people to sign up for Code Red for whenever there is a parking ban in the city, whenever we have cold weather due to snow, or we have specialized areas of the city that we're removing snow and ice from the edges of the sidewalk. We will call a parking ban. While the weather is getting a little warmer, what happens if we don't remove the larger snow banks, particularly those on the sidewalks, is that when that snow melts, it does cause either flash flooding due to the amount of water that snow is there, or if it freezes after that, those then become solid pieces of ice that we can't get rid of. So we get rid of them now while it's a little warmer before we have to deal with large, basically ice cubes on the edges of the sidewalk that could be a dangerous item for cars that are trying to opening their doors or people trying to climb over them. We want to make sure we're keeping the sidewalks as safe as possible. Please do sign up for Code Red so you know when those events are happening. And do know that if you see the snow removal signs out and it is warmer weather, that's so we can avoid large pieces of ice happening later on. This past week, the City Council also voted to approve an amendment to the snow removal ordinance. This only applies for people in the downtown business district. Back in 2012, there was an ordinance passed by the City Council that requires the building owners of the downtown business district to be responsible for the sidewalks in front of their properties. Now, some business owners have chosen to put that into the leases with their tenants in the storefronts. Some do that themselves and contract different services there. However, we've run into several issues in the past 3 or 4 years where we send out about 24 tickets a year for people who don't clear the sidewalks from in front of their stores. And this is something that we've ran into issues in that we've had to have multiple tickets go out to the same building owner because the fine was only $25 and it was a lot cheaper to just pay the fine than hire someone to go clear the sidewalks. So the increases were approved by the City Council for first printing. There will have to be a second vote of the City Council at another City Council meeting, most likely the next one that's coming up on February 22nd. for that to be formally included in the city ordinances. However, we wanted to make sure the public knew that at least was progressing forward and moving forward. The reason why the downtown business district is in charge of their own sidewalks, unlike every other place in the city, is so that patrons of the downtown businesses are able to get through the sidewalks after a snowstorm. By state law, the city is required to plow all sidewalks within a mile of a school building first before doing any other sidewalks anywhere in the city. So in order to make sure we can get to those school district sidewalks within a timely manner and not delay people who are trying to go shop downtown or to any of the restaurants or any of the other places in that area, they are in charge of their own sidewalks. So if you're looking for more information on that, please contact my office at any time and we're happy to get that for you as well. The Uptown Rotary project is progressing. This past week, the City Council voted to approve an eminent domain taking for the Rotary itself. The deed for that small grassy knoll in the middle of the Rotary was actually missing, and the state would not let us proceed with that project until we could verify that the city actually owned that. So even though that area of land was presumed owned by the city, until we have a deed in hand, the state was not going to continue with that project. Now that the City Council has moved forward with us to proceed with an eminent domain taking, it shouldn't cost the city any funding at all, because again, it's most likely the city taking it from the city itself, but it does formalize that process in the eyes of the state so that they can move forward. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with how that project works, the city pays for the design of the project, which is approximately $150,000, where the state comes in and puts all of the construction work and funds all of that work by themselves, which is close to $3 million. So for the city, on us, it's really a dime for a dollar as we move forward with that project there. But in case you were wondering about how that project was progressing, or you saw that in the council packet or heard it from other people as to something that was going on, we wanted to make sure you knew exactly what that was. It's some widening of the intersection itself, clarifying what lanes are able to go in what location, and following through with the new Massachusetts Department of Transportation standards for rotaries in cities. Any questions on that can be directed to the city engineer's office over at the DPW building. There will be another COVID-19 rapid test distribution day over at the PACC on Saturday, February 26th. That is the Saturday that closes February vacation. So again, residents who show up will be able to get a bunch of rapid test kits as they drive up to the PACC. Again, this is on a Saturday, so there shouldn't be any issues with work, but we are planning on having a test distribution from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. on that day. We do want to point out too that the last distribution that we had large traffic backups only between the hours of 1 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. There was almost no traffic at all between 2:30 and 6 when we had the last distribution. So if you're worried about traffic, try to come at the tail end of the distribution and there should be plenty there. We've ordered enough that there shouldn't be any worries about supply issues, any worries about if coming early, coming late, and stuff being available. We have tried to alleviate that as much as we could. So this will be for the City of Gardner and the Town of Westminster who have partnered on this distribution. If you have any questions, contact my office or Representative John Zlotnick's office, and we'll be able to answer those questions there too. Speaking of Representative Zlotnick, this past week, he brought Representative James Arcero to the city, who is the chair of the Massachusetts House of Representatives Committee on Housing, to tour downtown Gardner at the sites of our new housing projects that are happening, both over on Rear Main Street, where we expect 55 apartment units to be constructed within the next year, and over at the corner of Parker Street and Connor Street in the old Ryan Block and Temptations building, where we expect another 30 apartments to be constructed over there. So thank you very much, Representative Zlotnick, for making sure that the policymakers out in Boston know what we have going on over here, so that we can make those connections when different projects like these come up and we are really reliant on state assistance. There's almost $9 million of state funding going into those two projects, because we are able to make connections like that. So that really does help. So I do want to thank our area's legislative delegation for the investments that they're also doing in our community to complement the work that we're doing here in City Hall. We want to remind people that there is salt and sand available at the DPW. If you bring a bucket, it's available right at the entrance to the DPW yard for homeowners to fill and take home with them for use on their property. So if you're interested in that, please do take advantage of that. That's there as well. It really does help when things start to get a little icy. Catholic Charities will be having their grand opening here in the city of Gardner on Lake Street on February 17th at 4 p.m. More information on this can be found at the Chamber of Commerce's website and social media platforms, and you can contact them for more information as to what the program entails. But we do want to welcome Catholic Charities into Gardner as a new housing assistance program and charity here in the city that is going to help several of our residents as we move forward. And while it is Super Bowl weekend, we do want to remind people that the Chamber of Commerce's Super Raffle is going to take place in 2 weeks, and they've already started to sell their tickets. There is a max number of tickets that can be sold, so if you do want to participate in that community event, contact the Chamber of Commerce as well. However, that does conclude this week's Mayor's Update. As always, if you have any questions about things that are happening in the city or have any questions about what was mentioned here in the update, please do feel free to contact my office at any time and we'll be happy to get that information to you. But until we speak again next week, enjoy the warmer weather that we're seeing right now while it's still here, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Thank you very much and have a good day.